Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Verma, you heard my criticism of the department regarding the implementation of SECA. SECA was drafted and passed so that we could get things moving quicker. You're the person in charge of that, I gather. Is that right?
I'm happy to be. I am happy to be.
Yes or no?
Yes, I am happy to be that person.
Can you give me just I don't want a blah, blah, blah answer. Give me one sentence why you have failed to comply with the law's requirement that was passed 2 years ago that you had 6 months to issue final guidance, and why 2 years later that final guidance hasn't been issued.
So, Senator Risch, let me say up front, I agree with you. Our people want to be out engaging with the public. They don't want to be behind big walls. And so we've actually been aggressively opening, frankly, new embassies in the Pacific Islands. We have a new embassy in Solomon Islands, Seychelles, in Indian Ocean, Tonga. We are opening in Vanuatu and Maldives. We've actually used the authority that you've given us to exercise the waiver on setback in a number of embassies around the world in new construction. The guidance that you're asking for is coming out shortly. I promise you of that. We are in absolute agreement. It takes, let me tell you why it's hard. Because you have to have that rigorous debate between the security professionals, between the people who are building, and we want to do this right. Because if you just say, well, reduce the setback and co-locate in all of these places in the world, which is what the authority gives us, you want, and you don't do it carefully, you do run into security challenges. We are doing it carefully. I think you'll appreciate the guidance when it comes out. It is coming out soon.
You said soon and shortly. Those words mean something to me, but maybe not the same as what they mean to you. So tell me what soon and shortly mean.
Well,
and by the way, I think that's a good explanation of what you've given. It still doesn't respond to the fact that there is specific final guidance that was required and didn't come out. So let's get that behind us and talk about when that will happen, shortly or soon.
Look, we are working on it as we speak, and so this has been an intensive conversation, again, in the department, and we want to do this and we want to do it right, and we want to be able to roll this out in a way that I think lives up to the spirit. Frankly, we want to do more.
I know you do, and that's why I had the law drawn and passed and got through.
Right.
Will it be less than 6 months?
Yes, absolutely.
Will it be less than 90 days?
I'm hoping it's in the next few weeks.
Hope is not a strategy. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for what you're doing in that regard. I'm glad you're paying attention to it. It's the right thing to do, and believe me, we worked with the department, as you know, when we drew SECA and when we passed SECA. Well, and so we know the department wants to do this.
I will say there's a reason why I've been to 45 embassies and consulates. It's not just for the frequent flyer miles. It is to really see firsthand the challenges in building in urban areas and the real security issues we have. But we want the flexibility, and I think you will be pleased with how we actually implement it.
Okay, I'm going to ask these questions, not expecting an answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Can you confirm that the Bureau of Diplomatic Security suspended Mr. Malley's clearance because he improperly transferred classified U.S. government information to his personal email account and/or device that is not authorized to store such information?
Yeah, Senator, I think you know that we're limited on what we can say, and Rob Malley has been on leave since last summer. It has been publicly reported that this is because of his security clearance was suspended. There are security professionals that review this matter. I will just say it is consistent with long-standing executive branch and Department of State policies and practice that we cannot comment or provide documents or information in a public setting related to personnel security, law enforcement, or investigations pertaining to any individual. So unfortunately, I don't have much I can share with you in this public setting.
Can you confirm that a malign cyber actor actually gained access to Mr. Malley's personal email and/or phone?
Yeah, Senator, I'm not in a position to speak to the status of the investigation or anything related to it.
Well, my time's up, and I didn't get what I wanted out of that, and probably won't until we agree to issue a subpoena for that information.
Senator, can I, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, Senator, you raised our China situation, and I just wanted to, having just been in China last week, I just wanted to respond to that directly, and I know you raised it with me multiple times in the past, and I greatly appreciate you speaking out on behalf of the workforce, especially those who had to go through a terrible situation in China.
And you above all, understand the workforce disillusionment with the way they were treated by China and the fact that they believe that the government didn't stand up for them.
Well, Senator, I would say no one was happy with the situation. I will say we had to waive privileges and immunities in 50 countries in order to continue to show up in places, including in China.
But they didn't all treat them like China treated our.
Well, some were pretty bad. China, what our workforce went through was not acceptable, and the 16 people plus kids that were separated, again, not something that any of our workforce should ever go through. I will say, as I said a year ago to you, or over a year ago in my own hearing, we had a choice to make about being present or not being present. Secretary Pompeo, the Undersecretary for Management, Governor Branstad, Ambassador Branstad made a policy decision. I don't question that decision sitting before you today. They made a policy decision that it was in the interest of the United States to be there, and it was going to be really painful for the workforce to get back to China. Now, the people who had to implement that, Rob Forden, David Mealy, the people you were talking about, actually were the ones there on the ground trying to work through an exceptionally difficult situation, trying to arrange medevac for our people, trying to fight with the Chinese government every day on behalf of those people, and to hold them accountable or responsible, to punish them, I just feel is the wrong direction. Hold me accountable. Honestly, I am the policy person. I'm the senior official for management. But they were implementing a policy taken by leaders in Washington and by the ambassador, who, again, I'm not faulting them. I'm just saying it does send a chilling effect to senior officials around the world when they have to do difficult things. No one is accepting or endorsing or thinking what the Chinese did was acceptable. It was not. But these officials had to implement a very, very difficult situation and, frankly, recovered from it and brought us to a place of normalcy with Ambassador Burns' leadership and others. So that is the only thing I wanted to say. I spent a lot of time on this, and I don't think we see it in the same way. And these are people you might vote against, but to block their consideration from future advancement is just, I just ask you to think about that.
I can tell you, and you know, that the scars are long and deep and long-lasting from what happened there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.